Hi, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe. Today we're talking about Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich. More specifically, we're talking about 7 major positive and negative emotions. Why are we doing that? That's on chapter 12, and in the PDF we're starting at about 183. Why do we even need to know about the 7 major positive and negative emotions? Even I get to thinking, well, you know what? I know I got them. I don't like them. I deal with them as they come. Well, there's a reason that we need to know about these. And the reason is that any emotion or feeling that's strong will galvanize us into action, right? We know that the subconscious mind is more susceptible to impulses of thought that are mixed with feeling and emotion. That's why when we did our chief aim, when we set our goal, we talked about put that desire behind the goal, put that oomph, that emotion, that emotional attachment to your why. We talked about how badly do you want it? How important is it to you? And it's because when we have that strength of emotion behind whatever it is we're thinking, action takes place. All right. Now, that's not saying good, bad, positive, or negative, is it? Now we think about what kind of action do we want to put in place? Do we want things to get done? Do we want forward momentum? If we're going places on our path to our goal, because we all know that the path really is like this, and we don't like where we're going because we're doing it out of anger or fear, or we're going to talk about what those 7 major emotions are, the negative emotions, and we're just not in a good place, right, with the work that we're doing. We need to know this so that we can recognize and we can make a change. All right. Excuse me. We're preparing ourselves to influence and control our inner audience. That's what it says in the book. It's calling it the inner audience of our subconscious mind, because we want to hand over to it, that insight, that subconscious mind, we want to hand over to it the desire for money. Okay? And we want that desire to turn into the physical equivalent. Well, in order to do that, we need to understand how this works, right? And one of the ways to do that is to understand we're going to put emotions into umbrella categories, meaning that every emotion that we have can be drilled down to this root emotion. So anxiety can be drilled from fear, right? So having said that, let's take a look at them. So we have our 7 major emotions, major positive emotions. We have desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, hope. These are the 7 most powerful and most commonly used in creative effort. If we can master these 7 emotions by using them, then we're going to be able to pull on them, call on them, bring them into play when we need them. So let's take a look at what we mean by powerful, positive emotions. Men have built cities, destroyed nations, conquered the business world, all for the love of a woman. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't think anybody would correct me. We know this. We know that the great leaders, whatever, pick a country, the great leaders there's that saying that behind every great man is a greater woman. It's true, but only because the great man is doing it because of that love that he has for that woman. He's inspired by who she is, and that emotion that he is attaching to her. He does it for her. I hear men say this all the time. Now that I know about it, I hear it. Well, I'm going to do this because I want to make her happy. It's amazing what men can do when they have that in their mind. Amazing. They amaze themselves, right? Love. Now we have the emotion of faith. The faith of a mustard seed can move mountains. Who hasn't heard that one? I have. Think about instances in your life when you needed something to happen and you believed so strongly in this greater power that is in your life. You had faith. Whatever that faith was built on, that foundation, you had faith that this was going to happen. Hence, it did. Now, we know that it didn't just materialize because you thought about it, right? It didn't just appear in front of you because you thought about it. But having the faith that something's going to happen gives you the needed energy and fuel to keep going, whether the going's tough or not. Then we have the emotion of hope. One of the reasons why, am I going to get political just for a moment? One of the reasons why communism is so detrimental to the individual, first off, is because it's not about the individual, is one of the things that they seek to destroy. Communists, dictators, despots, and the like, is they first go after your hope. We'll destroy that, and now you're ours. Because hope is powerful. Hope can help you to see beyond your current circumstances. Hope says, it's not always going to be like this. I am not always going to be like this. And with a little bit of hope combined with a little bit of faith, incredible things happen internally and externally. So your thoughts on anything I've said to this point about the 7 major positive emotions and what I'm saying, and agreeing with Napoleon Hill on how powerful they are. Desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, and hope. Any thoughts on that before we take a look at our negatives? Good morning, Chef Michael. Good morning, Corey. Welcome. Good to see you here. All right, then. The emotions to avoid. The 7 major negatives are fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge, greed, superstition, anger. Positive and negative emotions cannot occupy the mind at the same time. They just simply can't. You can't be angry and filled with love at the same time. One will dominate. And it's my responsibility, your responsibility, to make sure that the positive emotion is what is the dominating influence of your mind. And that is because, and you can do it because of the law of habit. Right? I can do it because the law of habit says I can. I can form a habit of applying and using positive emotions. So when I feel fear, I can train myself to replace that fear with hope or faith. When I'm filled with jealousy, and I've not been filled with jealousy, but I felt it. a little bit of envy and jealousy when comparing somebody's outsides, right? And I replace it. I replace it with gratitude for who I am today and what I'm doing, which is a form of hope. I replace it with enthusiasm that says, oh, that's what I'm working towards. Instead of being jealous and envious, saying, no, that's what I'm working towards. I'm so glad you have that, because keep going. I'm following you. That's what I want to be. You can train yourself to think differently and hence feel differently. And it's literal. Training yourself to recognize these emotions for what they are, deal with them, get them out of the way, replace them with positive. That's the only way you're going to be able to move forward. It's the only way you're going to be able to get the money that you're wanting and be able to enjoy it when you get it. I'll put that there. Yeah, you can be filled with all the negatives here and get all the money in the world. How happy are you going to be? And honestly, if that's who you are and you want to be like that dictator, you want to be the filled with that anger and that resentment and that awfulness, and you really don't belong here, do you? Because we who are gathering here are all about making ourselves better. You know, making ourselves better so that we can do wondrous things when we have money. Abraham Lincoln stated that kindness is the only service that will stand the storm of life and not wash out. And yes, Matt, people found many negative ways. Many ways. You can, this is not the only way to make money. Okay, being on the positive side is not the only way to make money. But you see, this isn't what this is about, is it? The book isn't about just getting money. The book is about preparing ourselves to be the best we can be for the long term, so that when we get the money that we have decided we want, we can do wondrous things with it. Read the book. That's what the book's telling us all along. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about all these other principles, would we? We wouldn't be talking about, hey, let's put the focus on me. How much better can I be? How am I today? What am I bringing to the world today? We wouldn't even be talking about emotions, would we? Because if it really was all about just getting money, it'd be a whole different word. It'd be there'd be no grow in there, would there? It'd all be about think and get rich quick, now, boom, go rob a bank. Who cares what the consequences are? Nope, that's not what we're here for. I like that. I like it, Chef Michael. Well-balanced maintenance. That's it. That's it. I want to not only make that money that I have set out, there's reasons I want to have that revenue from my business and in my personal accounts. And it's far above and beyond just the lifestyle that I want for my husband and myself. There are many charitable organizations that I'm supporting now in a variety of ways. And there are many individuals that when I'm able to help. I got to tell you, for me, one of the things that I bring to the table with the hope is that I'm looking forward to making that money so I can write some checks to help some people out, because I know what that's like. I've done it, and it's awesome to take away somebody's fear because their security is a mess, right? All right, so we've got that. We all know why we're taking a look at these. And let's go back to the book and see what they have to say, they being Napoleon Hill. Most people who pray do so only after everything else has failed. All right, so there's the question. Why do you wait until it's already gone to pot before you pray for help or pray for guidance? Just a thought. Instead, Instead, if instead of going with fear and doubt, which is what the infinite intelligence is going to act upon for us, why don't we go with the sense of hope? And those who are professional prayers will back me up on this. If we go with the sense of hope, it's amazing what can happen. Prayer does sometimes result in the realization of that for which one prays. If you've ever had the experience of receiving that for which you prayed, go back in your memory and recall your actual state of mind while you were praying, and you will know for sure that the theory here described is more than a theory. If you pray for a thing but have fear as you pray, you may not receive it, or your prayer will not be acted upon by infinite intelligence. Your prayer will have been in vain. And we talk a little bit about the science of prayer in here. And he's talking about no one will, let's see. This comes when mankind's ready for it. There will come a time when schools and educational institutions will teach the science of prayer. And actually, we're starting to, aren't we? Not in our public schools, but in quantum physics and metaphysical studies, the science of prayer. Yeah, Cindy. The media thrives on negativity and riling people up. It's a way of control. Now, does that mean that I think that everybody who puts out a news story is trying to control me? No. No, but if you step back and you look at the cycle of the way things work, it feeds off of each other, doesn't it? Just because it's my first chosen profession does not mean I have to buy into it to make money. Oh, no, you don't have to buy into being negative. Too many people wait until it's too late to pray. We only live one life and should make the most of it while we can. Yeah, and that's really what we're talking about here is we're making that choice to be hopeful and have faith rather than, and approach it with gratitude and love and enthusiasm rather than, oh my God, the whole world's falling apart and I'm going to die tomorrow. That feeling, right? Coming at it from fear. All right, so before your prayer will reach infinite intelligence, it's just a generic term we're using for whatever it is you believe in, it's probably transformed from original thought vibration into terms of spiritual vibration. And faith is the only known agency which will give your thoughts a spiritual nature. And as I said before, faith and fear don't work well together. They cannot exist together. You cannot have faith and fear in the same space. So if we look at this as, what are we feeding our subconscious? What are we feeding it? And we make the choice to feed with those 7 major positive emotions. We are better able to handle whatever comes our way, aren't we? I think we can make conscious decision to change how we see the world. And I wanted to say that instead of just saying, I will never feel some way again, I will never be afraid again, replace that fear with a thought of something else. I just don't believe that I can just not have something. So I consciously make the choice to change the way I see something. And I think that in many cases, for me to make the kind of changes that I've made over the years, I made the decision ahead of time so that I didn't have to wonder what I was supposed to do, how I'm supposed to feel, or how I'm supposed to react, or how I want to see something, a better way to see something. I think ahead and say, the next time this happens, I want to react this way instead. It works. It's putting it out to you. It works. What do you think? What do you think? Yeah, so instead of saying, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Oh my God, thank you for the life you're giving me today. Just a thought. Or, help guide me today towards whatever it is that your goal for the day is. Thoughts welcomed. Again, let's review those major emotions. The ones we're trying to go for. We want desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, hope. And those are the ones that are most commonly used in creative endeavors. And why is that? Why is it that those 7 positives are the ones most commonly used in creative endeavors? Anybody have an idea on that one? Good morning, Hillary. Passion, yes. List them again, be happy to. The 7 major positive emotions most often used in creative effort are desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, hope. Good morning, Karen. Good to have you with us. So why do you think that those are the ones that are used in creative effort? Most commonly used in creative effort. Yeah, they're powerful. But so are those negative emotions. Those negatives are just as powerful. See, that's my question is, why would it be the positive emotions that we put into play for creative effort instead of a negative emotion? They get at a core belief. All right. It's a good thought. Any other thoughts related to that? Of why is the most common emotions used for creative effort the positive ones? Again, desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, hope. I have some thoughts, but I want yours. Christopher, Mr. Hill was getting at the what side do you want to be on? Team good or team bad? All right. There's a thought. See, those emotions kick in the endorphins, and that is what helps us feel up, happy, and therefore helps us be creative. Okay. Desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, hope. We use both the positive and negative, but if you want to create something desirable, you use the positive ones, okay? Results, my top interest. You can get results out of the negative emotions. Can't you? I mean, so why? I think I love what you guys are saying. I'll be sharing what I think in just a moment, but I prefer to hear what you think first. Again, why those 7 emotions, the 7 major ones, are the ones that are most commonly used in creative effort. They're powerful, right? They're powerful. I mean, we have desire, faith, love, sex, enthusiasm, romance, hope. Those are the positive ones. Now let's take a look at those negative ones, which are just as strong as was said by Christopher. On the other side, we have fear, jealousy, hatred, revenge, greed, superstition, anger. Okay, Cindy, they connect the brain and heart on the positive ones. Any other thoughts? Any thoughts about using those negative emotions for a creative endeavor? Okay. Now here's my thought, is the reason that the 7 most powerful positive emotions are used in creative effort is because they're all about moving forward, moving upward, and creating. And the reason that the 7 major negative emotions are not put into place for creating anything is because they destroy. They tear down. They keep things locked down. You can't grow with the negative. Those are my thoughts. Oh, now there's an interesting thought. Too much positivity can lead to negativity. Not sure how that works. But in this case, what we're talking about is that those 7 major emotions, recognize them, that they can be put to use to keep you moving forward towards your goal, which is to grow rich. I'll get Corey in here. And a reminder that I will be closing the meeting, the program down about 10 minutes early today because there's a professional networking meeting happening at the top of the hour. Good morning, Corey. Welcome.
Well, good morning. I love the concept.
So what do you think?
I think you're absolutely right. I'm like, man, that's some good stuff.
That's why we love Napoleon Hill.
But yeah, you're right. The positive. I like the concept of all the 7 good steps that are positive. And you're right. Of course, I don't understand how you can have too much positive turn negative. I don't know how you do that. Not saying you can't. I just don't know how you would do that. Because I'm always positive in my relationships with my marriage, and it works fine if you're positive. Because you need positive. You have to be positive in your marriage or even in your job. If you're negative or have any sense of negativity, you know negativity shifts your day. If you're negative thinking, you shift the whole attitude, the whole atmosphere of your day, because you're allowing that negative come in your day. So don't ever let negative come nowhere even close to you.
A question, Corey, because I know that you're deeply rooted in faith here, is you're talking about shifting from negative to positive. What does that look like? What does it look like to have a negative day? What are the end results of a positive day? The end results of a negative day?
The end result of negative day is frustrated, agitated. You don't accomplish anything. Although you really do accomplish something, it's just negative speaking. You do actually accomplish something. It's negative. But on the other side of that, if you're positive, then you run into positive people. You have positive results. You're more happy. You're more content. And not only that, the people around you want to be around you. So you attract positive things to you and positive people to you, and positive things will happen for you as well. And even the other thing is, if the positive is strong enough, you can actually pass that positive over to other people. So you're not only helping yourself and blessing your business, you're also reaching other people.
Okay. There she is. What do we call you, my dear? Welcome.
Rashim.
Rashim, nice to meet you. So what are your thoughts on this? Thank you, Corey. What are your thoughts?
There's two things that come to my mind. One of the things that I'm thinking is like maybe, maybe neither one is negative or positive. Maybe it's just is, and we're placing or attributing value to certain things. So I don't know, jealousy. Let's say we might automatically attribute that to be a negative feeling, but that could be channeled into like, oh, there's something there that I want that I feel like I can't have or I don't have. So how can I use that positively? So some of it, I think these emotions are just emotions. They just are.
Right.
And that's why I like to steer away from calling them negative or positive, because it can start making us feel guilty or shame for feeling something that's very natural. And that's very part of like the balance of life. We know what good feels like because we've had things that are contrast to what we think are good. So, that's just food for thought in terms of looking at these different emotions and how they play with each other to create this beautiful contrast that we call life.
Okay. Thank you for the nuggets. Good food to chew on. Good food to chew on.
Yeah.
The primary reason that we are even speaking in terms of like even taking just the 7 major positives, 7 major negatives, because everything else, right? That everything else is like rooted in these major emotions, according to this book, is so that we can recognize them. And when we recognize that we are in a continual state of the negative emotion, that which tears down, that which destroys, that which prevents us from moving forward, the fear, the anger, the jealousy, the envy, all that stuff. When we are able to recognize it, now we can, as you said, because we've experienced good, we've experienced other emotions, we can consciously prepare ourselves to replace that negative with a positive. And it starts with the thinking first, because you have to recognize it, exactly what you said, Rashid. The idea is that we want to use these principles to move forward, to keep that momentum going, to be better, so that we can be who we want to be at the end of the road, which is when we attain that final goal of the money we're going after, that's included in the definite chief aim, and everything else that comes into play with these principles. So very similar to what you just said. I think we're just using different words, right?
You're probably absolutely right. One of the things that you just said that it makes me think of is it not being 2 different things, but just being 2 ends. Like, on a pencil, I have a part that writes and I have a part that erases. One isn't better or negative. I need both of those. Or when we talk about demolition and tearing things down, there's things that are torn down, and then we take those things, like let's say if a tree, and that makes the paper that we use, the pencils that we use. I'm just toying with the idea of
I like where you went with it, though, that it is the opposites. I like the analogy you used of a pencil. One erases, one creates. But now my belief and my experience has been that feelings just are, emotions just are, and they're subject to change at any given moment. But the other thing is that I know to be true is that my thinking can change my emotions. And in order for me to get from A to C, I need to know the emotions that are going to help me to get there. My own experience has been that when I started my business, it was started out of fear and anger and angst, because I was running away from what it was like for me to work in the environments I was working in, working for other people. But then there came a time when that wasn't strong enough. When if it was just, the anger wasn't enough. It just wasn't. For me, 4 years into owning the business, it just wasn't enough to keep the momentum going.
Right.
Right. So then I had to take a look at, well, what am I working towards? And when I was able to identify what I'm working towards, why I'm working towards it, and why it was so important to me to have it, that end goal, that's sustainable. It even feels sustainable today. Over the past few years, it still feels sustainable. I feel like I'm moving forward. I feel like I'm in the right direction. As Corey said, I'm attracting the the opportunities, right? I'm attracting people, like-minded people. I'm attracting people ahead of me, which is even better. So now I can have those that are ahead of me to help me along the way, to remind me that my thinking's getting in my way. You know, my emotions are out of whack. Hey, take a step back, relax a minute, take a breath. Where am I going? Keep moving forward. And the experience I've had of being filled with the negative was that it was limiting. And now that I'm more filled with the positive, because my desire is backing, my desire and faith is backing what my goal is out there. It just feels more sustainable, and it feels more energizing, to be honest, because the anger that I had and everything, that fear of what I was running from can really suck the energy out of you.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It totally does. I like what you said about how it was a catalyst for change for you, like in terms of the fear. But then it was something that like kind of let go. It kind of reminds me of like when you have like a rocket ship that's taken off, and then at the beginning it has like the two little rockets on the ends.
Yes.
And then then after you get to a certain point, you have to let those go.
Yeah.
So I very much can see it like that. And I also one of the things that I try to remind people that emotions are a wonderful indicator, but a terrible dictator. So if I feel an emotion.
Perfect. Wait a minute. Perfect. That's exactly, you just nailed what we've been talking about, haven't you? That we're talking, if we keep it simple to the 7 major positive and negatives that we just described, wherever we are at the moment, if we can identify that emotion, all it is an indicator of where we are at the moment. And it's up to us to choose to stay there or to change it. That's Absolutely. What I heard you say in that statement. Is that what you were saying, or no? No,
that's totally it. That's totally it.
I love that.
I mean, it lets me know if I'm angry, then I can take a step back, and I like to do it in a way where I'm being non-judgmental of the way that I'm feeling, because if I just feel anger and I say I'm feeling anger and I shouldn't feel anger, then I just try to cover it up with something, and I have cognitive dissonance there, and I'm fighting with myself. But if I say I'm angry, and then I can say, why am I angry? What am I mad about? Oh, I'm mad about this. Is this that person's fault? Or is this true? Is that really true? What can I do about this? That's the indicator. But like how you deal with it, it's not the dictator. It's not determining how you're going to respond.
There's my takeaway for the day. I don't know about you all, but that is exactly what my takeaway today is. Yes, boom. I will be sharing that in my takeaways on my social media after my professional networking meeting, is that, the emotion that I'm having now is simply an indicator. It's not the dictator. Love that.
Right.
Yes, Corey.
No, hey, sure. I'm just pondering around that that philosophy about there is no positive or there's a negative. There's one in the stick and the other in the stick.
Right.
I would say you have to have a positive or a negative. So I wouldn't say there's not a positive negative. Now you can turn you can turn a positive into a negative, just like you can turn a negative into a positive. They are two separate things. They do give you two separate outcomes. And as I heard Rasheen say, it's how you is your concept of how you perceive it. But it is negative. And there's part, just like God has, there's good and evil, the devil and God.
Right.
And for you to
say what we're talking about here is our limited language. We have to label them or call them something so that we know where the contrast is. We know what's opposite. We know where we want to be instead. We have to have a level of measurement of whether or not this is what we want in our lives. And the only way to do that is to experience them. So if I can say that I'm angry and I feel it and I have that effect of that anger, which is customer doesn't call me back. Somebody, maybe I'm angry. oh, here's a good one. Customer decides they don't want to pay me and thinks that and tells me that because they're in a different state, they can just walk away and there's not a thing I can do about it.
Wow.
All right. Yeah. Want to bet? Small claims court works, attorneys. So, instead of acting out of anger, what I did was I knew I was angry. I walked away from the keyboard because I didn't want the consequences of actions that were fueled by anger. Right? I didn't want the consequences. So I walked away. I'd already had consequences many years ago of doing something because I was angry, and learned that time to take a step back, walk away, and walked away so that the anger settled. And yes, it was still there, but it wasn't the ruler, as Rashim was saying, it wasn't the dictator of what I was going to say and how I was going to say it, because I didn't. What I did was I said, phone call, attorney, what can we do? All right, it's all in your hands. It doesn't matter what I think, feel, or believe at this moment. I can now turn it over to somebody else and reconcile the anger in a different way, which is what I did. Walked around a little bit, put some faith in, started replacing it, because the situation didn't change. It was my response to it. But we learn how to do that, and that's what I was hearing Rashim, you saying, is that we learn how to do that by recognizing where we are. And I think that's one of the important things that we have to take away, is that I am not saying by any stretch, Napoleon Hill is not saying in any way that you will not feel this. What he's saying instead is that you can focus your attention towards something that you want instead of what you're feeling there. And if you need help walking through the why and wherefores of all this negative that you have in your life, please, by all means, go get it. Do it. Because now you've identified that you don't want that. You want this instead. That, to me, is the gist of everything that Napoleon Hill has been teaching us in all his books, which is that I'm making the conscious decision that I want to change my thinking, which will change my feelings, which will change my behavior, which will result in my achieving whatever it is that I've put down that I want to achieve. But that went on long, sorry.
No.
Oops, I just got myself, well, that one.
That was good.
Well, if you disagree, please say so.
No, that was good. That was the truth.
Okay. So good stuff. So what else is up? What else do you think about this positive and negative? What do you think about being able to consciously make a decision to change the way you think, the way you feel?
Well, some of that can happen by simply being around positive people, reading positive books, listening to positive tapes. That has a lot to do with it too. It adds to your thought process and your emotions.
So it's
as well.
what you're feeding your subconscious mind, then, is what you're taking in.
I totally agree with Corey. I think it's a matter of doing that, and doing it in a way of not just doing it when it flares up, but having a regular practice of surrounding yourself with that, so that can become your default. Because there's some situations that may arise that if I sit down and cognitively think about it, I will respond differently. But if my default is to do something else, then that means that I need to do a little bit more conditioning. And the thing is, we actually have to work twice as hard in terms of conditioning, because everything else out there is telling us something different. Everything else is telling us gloom and doom. Everything else is telling us that we're not enough. That's marketing's job. You're not enough. You need this to fix your life, to make you better. So as much as the commercials are on, the TV is on, the radio is on, people you interact with, that's as much as we need to feed ourselves, whether it's a quote in the morning where it's coming on, listening to Charlene Burke, whether it's making a phone call to a friend, whether it's having a prayer partner. That should be a regular part of our practice if we're trying to really set that as our default. And for me, I feel like it's a daily practice, because there are times where I have to sit down and think like, do I really want to respond in what I'm feeling right now? And sometimes I don't. A lot of times it's like, no, I feel a particular way, and I may have every right to feel the way that I feel, but I don't have a right to lash out, number one. And the thing that helps me in other situations is there's some situations where I have already conditioned my default, that there's things that are that would have been triggers in the past that are no longer triggers, because I didn't even see that was an offense. I couldn't even, I'm not even on the same wavelength as that. So I completely missed it, So that's kind of the goal in terms of like how what I'm working on in my life is just to set my default and my response time to quickly turn a situation around in my head, kind of like a translator, when you learn in a language versus like I'm learning and I have to walk around with a book and sit down and find the word to just be able to like, I know the language.
Love that. Beautifully said, Rasheen. Beautifully said. Chef Michael's coming up with reserved attention spans rule. Yes. I get that. I don't know if anybody else does, but I get that. Welcome, Carl. Glad you're here. All right, we are fast approaching my early closeout of today. Normally, as you know, I would stop at the top of the hour and then keep the room open. But today is Wednesday, and every Wednesday I have a professional networking group that I'm in charge of and have to open the room for and all of that. So if you are a professional with services or products that you want to sell, join us in this room and check it out. It is what we will do is have a presenter. Today's presenter is going to be talking about what it takes to write a book. If you're wondering what to do about writing a book, how that works, how that looks, she will present for about 20 minutes and then Q&A afterwards, and then introductions of each other, just like any other networking meeting. All right, so final words before I close out the recording here. Rasheen?
My final words would be, remember that emotions are a fantastic indicator, but a terrible dictator.
Beautiful. Corey?
Uh-oh, no sound.
Yeah. Uh-oh, the internet connection's kind of wonky, Corey.
Hold on. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. So about that. I would say have a positive day by receiving positive things, and you also set your future to be positive as well.
Terrific. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me in the live stream, Corey and Rasheen. It's a pleasure to have you here. Thank you in the comments section for your comments and keeping our discussion going. What a terrific way to start our morning. Those watching live, hey, glad you are here. And those watching the replay, so glad you've stuck with us this long. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.